and welcome to this week's edition of Midweek Moments. I'm your host, Pastor Tony, here with Season 2, Episode 4. This week, we are going to talk about being alone. And it's oddly enough, I gave studio executive Steve the day off, so I am completely alone here in the studio.
Are you really?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Well, I just got the jeepers scared out of me. I don't like being scared. I scare easily. And Miss Nina Mandrick just scared me. I'm okay. All right, we're going to send it to, actually, Miss Nina is going to teach us today about being alone, so maybe she won't scare me again. I don't know. Here we go.
Hi guys, Miss Nina here. I miss all of you so much. I'm so excited I get to do this. And I know this is definitely different. I don't get to see all of your beautiful faces or laugh with you or talk with you right now. And so we gotta take what we can get. And so you get to see me. And so we're gonna do our Wednesday night lesson. Last one for this particular setup, lesson number 4, and I'm super excited I get to do it, and we're going to talk about being alone. So I see that you guys have been talking about some very interesting things, some things that might be a little scary, some things that might be a little uncomfortable or interesting to you guys, and now we're going to end that with talking about being alone. So let's think about that for a minute. Sometimes being alone can be scary. Sometimes it can be nice. Sometimes it can be boring. Sometimes it can be peaceful. And the Bible talks a lot about being alone, about being on your own, having time alone with the Lord versus sometimes being alone because you're scared and afraid. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today with the prophet Elijah. You got to remember that. There's Elijah and Elisha. So this one's Elijah. This is before Elisha. Because Elisha learned from Elijah. So Elisha comes a little bit later, and we'll talk about that too. But we're going to focus on Elijah, who was a prophet to God. And we've talked about prophets in class before. Prophets were those who heard from God, right? Like, ring, ring, hello. I don't think they had phones. I don't think they had Twitter or Facebook either. But God spoke right to them. Sometimes God spoke out loud to them so that they could hear him, just like you're listening to me right now, which is so cool. And sometimes he would speak to them in their minds, in their hearts. He speaks to people in so many different ways. And it was their job to listen and obey and to understand what God was trying to say. So God was telling the prophets messages to tell to the people, especially to the kings of the different times that they were in. So you had really cool prophets like Samuel, Elijah and Elisha, Jeremiah, Isaiah, all the other there were a lot. And sometimes people liked them. They were like, wow, you're amazing. You hear from God. And sometimes people did not like them. So that's the case for Elijah right now. Elijah was doing amazing things with the Lord. If you read the chapter beforehand, there is a lot of crazy things that God did with Elijah. Some like superhuman things. Like my favorite was when Elijah is running and God gives him the strength to outrun everyone else all the way back to the kingdom, like the Flash. It's so cool. You have to read it. But the thing is, that's where we're starting off. He gets back to the kingdom and he gets back to Queen Jezebel. And if you've ever heard that name before, you know this is not going to turn out very well for our friend Elijah. So I'm going to be reading from 1 Kings chapter 19, and it's verses 1 through 18, but we're going to skip around a little bit, make it a little bit easier to understand for you guys. So we're going to start off in verse 3, actually, of chapter 19. So Jezebel, remember, Jezebel's no good. She wants to get rid of Elijah. And actually, at this point, all the other prophets had been killed off because they were not liked at this time at all. And Elijah is the last prophet Ooh, talk about being alone. You're the last one who can hear from God at this time. That's insane. So let's find out how Elijah's feeling. It says in verse 3, Elijah was afraid. He was afraid for his life because he saw what happened to everyone else, and he sees what Jezebel is like, and King Ahab too. So it says that he runs for his life to a town called Beersheba, and he leaves his servant there. So he's trying to protect those around him. He's like, you stay here. You can't go with me anymore. It's dangerous. You can't. I have to go alone. I have to be alone right now to protect you. And so he runs into the wilderness after he leaves his servant in Beersheba. And it says he comes to a broom bush and he sits down and he just takes a breath. Whew, I take a breath too. And he starts talking to the Lord. That's very important. What he's talking about isn't so great. We'll talk about that in a minute. But anytime a man or a woman of God finds himself alone, they talk to God. Even Jesus, when he was on his own in the wilderness, he was speaking to God. That's so important, that even when you're alone, even when you're afraid or nervous or you're not sure what's going on, the first thing to do is talk to God. So that is so cool that he's afraid for his life. He's like running for his life, and he takes a breath and he's like, okay, I need to talk to God now. And so he does. But what he talks about, it's a little sad and a little different. He sits down and he says, God, Lord, I've had enough. I am tired. I am done. And he says, please take my life. I'm no better than my ancestors. I'm no better than anyone who's come before me. They've made mistakes. I've made mistakes. I don't deserve to live right now. Please, Lord, just take my life, is what he's saying. I want out of this situation. And the only way out he saw was to go be with God. Now, think about that for a moment. It's a little weird, isn't it? He's running for his life. He's afraid of Queen Jezebel and what she's going to do to him. But he trusts Lord so much. He's like, I don't want to die by Queen Jezebel's hand. But you, Lord, I trust you. Please take me. I want to be with you right now, because anything's better than what's happening at this moment. It's a little contradictory. It goes against itself a little bit. He's running to try and protect himself, but at the same time he's asking God, please end my life. He's desperate, he's afraid, and he's alone. So it says after he prayed that, he decides to lay down and just fall asleep. Maybe he's hoping when he lays down and falls asleep, then God will come and take his spirit from him and he'll be with the Lord. So he's just trusting God with his whole heart. He prayed this prayer and now he's just going to lay down and let God handle the rest. And God handles it in such an amazing way. This is so cool, guys. Check this out. So he's laying there sleeping, and next thing he knows, tap, 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 someone's tapping him on the shoulder. I would be very confused and maybe a little bit afraid when I woke up. Like, oh my goodness, did Jezebel find me? I'm out here in the wilderness. What's going on? But he feels a tap on his shoulder and he wakes up, and it's an angel of the Lord has come to his aid. The angel touches him and says, get up, eat, for the journey has been too hard on you. So the angel's there to comfort him. God sends an angel to comfort him and says, we understand. God understands. This has been rough. You've been running. It wasn't a short run, guys. I mean, the way we read it here, it sounds like he ran and just found a place, but he was running for a while. He was tired. And the Lord sends an angel to comfort him and say, we understand. You're tired and alone and afraid right now, but eat something. Now, wait a minute. When we first read this, it said that he ran. He didn't like stop and pack a bag. He didn't get any snacks. He's like got his clothes on and that's it. And he ran. And the angel's telling him to eat something? Ooh, let's find out. What is he talking about? Eat something. So it says he got up and he ate and drank. Maybe the angel provided him with some food. Now that he was strengthened by the food, he traveled for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. Now who does that sound like? 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. Jesus, when he went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights and was with the Lord? Very interesting. So it says that eventually he comes to a place called Horeb. It was the mountain of God. There he went into a cave and spent the night. So now he's just relaxing. Ooh, speaking of relaxing, got some nice music coming through. Ooh. Maybe I'm not as alone as I thought. But it says that he would rest in this cave. And now, in verse 9 here, he wasn't alone though. Not as alone as he thought he was. You see, we're never alone. We have God with us always. And now, after the angel visits, now we're going to see the Lord visit. So the Lord is going to speak to Elijah, and he asks him, Elijah, what are you doing here? You see, Elijah's in a very special place right now. He's in the mountain of God, Mount Horeb. So this is a very good place to sit and talk to the Lord at this time. And the Lord is trying to comfort him and ask him to think. God likes to ask us questions sometimes to help us think. Just like your moms and dads and teachers ask you a question, they know the answer, but they want you to figure out the answer on your own. So he's just talking to Elijah and he's asking him, why are you here? And so Elijah says, Lord, I've followed you for so long. I've followed you for so long, Lord, with all my heart. And the Israelites, they just don't listen. They've rejected you and your covenant, all your promises, your law. They're rejecting you, Lord. But I followed you faithfully. They've torn down all of your altars. They've put your prophets to death by a sword. I'm the only one left. And now they're trying to kill me too. Like, he's just laying out all his worries to the Lord right now. Like, do you see what's happening, God? Do you see all of this? I'm afraid. He's fully relying and leaning on God at this time. Trusting God. That's amazing. The Lord says, all right, go out, stand on the mountain. Leave the cave, go out onto the side of the mountain and stand there. And you'll be in the presence of the Lord. The Lord is going to pass by. So this is kind of like God is speaking in his heart. And now he's saying, go out to the mountainside because now I want to speak to you out here. In like face to face almost. So Elijah is very obedient to the Lord. So he goes. And it says, this is my favorite part. It always makes me so emotional in my heart, like when you hear this, because it's so telling of God and who he is in this moment. We think of God as so powerful and strong, and he is. But in this moment, he's going to show Elijah a different side to him, a side that Elijah needs at this time. So first it says a big wind, like almost a tornado, came through and tore at the mountains, shattering the rock. It was so strong. But the Lord wasn't in that wind, in that strong wind. He wasn't there. And then it says there was an earthquake. So the earth was shaking. And it was so strong. It almost tore the mountain apart again. But God was not in the earthquake. And then a consuming fire came along. And if I was Elijah at this point, I'd be a little bit afraid. But Elijah's so trusting in the Lord. He trusts the Lord with his whole heart that he would be safe because God told him to go stand out there. And so he's just being obedient. The fire comes and he's waiting. But God's not in the fire either. If you've heard this, then you know what's going to happen next. It says that there was a whisper. Just a little whisper. And that's where God was. In the quiet, calming, peaceful whisper. Not in the crazy chaos that was going on around him a moment ago. No. He was in the peace, in the calming whisper. Listen. It's so peaceful out here. You might be able to hear the birds chirping or the water flowing. It's so peaceful and so calm. It reminds me of this moment where it was probably completely quiet, except for a whisper that he heard in his ear. And Elijah heard it, and the whisper said the same thing. This time God's asking him directly, what are you doing here, Elijah? And so, Elijah's so good. He doesn't me personally, I don't like being asked questions over and over again, like the same question, like, didn't you hear me the first time? But Elijah's so good. Elijah loves the Lord so much. He doesn't care that God is asking him the same question over again. In fact, Elijah answers him the same way, telling the Lord about his worries, that the prophets are dead, the altars have been torn down, I'm being chased right now, I'm afraid. And it's so good. God says, it's all right. Go back the way you came. Stop running. Stop running, Elijah. It's okay. Go back the way you came. Go to the desert of Damascus. And when you get there, I want you to anoint a new king. A new king. Ooh. So we talked about this in the beginning. Remember? Prophets are in charge of talking to the kings as well, and to anoint them. That means choosing a new king. God tells the prophet, this is going to be the next king, not just of Israel, but other countries as well. And I need you to go and anoint them, pick them, let them know you're the next king. So he's telling him, go to Hazael and make him king over the land of Aram. And then go to Jehu, who is the son of Nimshi. I like saying these names, they're fun. And make him the king over Israel. And the Lord says, I'm not done yet. Wait, there's more. And he says, also, go and find Elisha. Oh, here he is. Elisha's showing up. Go and find Elisha and anoint him as well. And you know that Elisha doesn't become a king, but he becomes a prophet. So this is amazing. God is like, wait, I understand. Elijah, I understand what you're going through right now. Maybe his voice was roaring just like that. But he doesn't leave him alone. He understands his need for companionship, to have a friend by his side during all of this. So first he says, let's switch up the kings, because none of them are being obedient. None of them are being kind right now. So I want you to go to anoint 2 new kings. And then on top of that, I'm going to give you a friend to teach and to raise up in the ways of a prophet, Elisha. Go and find him and anoint him as well, because the prophets aren't gone, because the Lord says so. That is so good. And it says that not only that, but everything, God is so full of justice. He's like the ultimate superhero, guys, except he's real. And he says those kings that you anointed, they're going to defeat all of your enemies. Anyone who's risen up against me and my prophets, they're going to get it. And everything's going to turn out okay, Elijah. There's going to be hard times still, but I'm going to be here with you. You're going to have Elisha with you. You're not alone anymore. Oh, that's so powerful and so good. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy some of the scenery here. I'll show it to you. I'm at Mingo with a beautiful sun. The sun is setting. That's why it's so bright. Isn't that beautiful? Thought you guys liked something a little different, a little adventure out here. But I love you guys and I miss you so much. And I hope you enjoyed our time together. See you later, guys. Bye. Mwah. And we're back here at Studio CK with your new host, Miss Nina. Just kidding. Pastor Tony got a little too afraid. I think I might have chased him off. He'll be back next time, don't worry. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this. And I just want to recap real quick to never forget that even when you feel like you're alone, Jesus is always with you all the time. Even when you can't feel him, even when you can't see him, he's right there. So guys, I just want to pray out with you before we go. And you know I got to say it. Fold those hands, close those eyes. Let's do this. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for all that you do for us. Thank you for your loving, kind graceful heart towards us, Lord, that you want to be with us, that you want to comfort us, that you want to give us things. You're just so amazing, Lord, and we worship you, and we love you so much. Help us to be brave and courageous in those times where we feel so alone, Lord. Thank you, Jesus, and in your precious name, amen.